You're gonna have to chop out some of this, right?
Oh, for sure, man.
Yeah, not all of this is funny or interesting. I'm trying to give up spaghetti.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to talk about being fat again here on the Aboriginal Outlaws.
I know. It's not like we haven't done it for 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, did you realize that we're fat? I'm getting fat, too. I noticed it jiggling. It feels like I'm wearing a vest.
Yeah, but the thing is, I definitely have to put in a lot more work than you. So I think you can get away with a little bit more Popeyes than I can.
Yeah. It was good, man. It was my... Oh, fuck. What did I do? It's just fuel for your body.
Are you recording all this, by the way? You enlarging and...
Yep. I am. I am. Yeah.
Jeez, and you yelled at me at how I fucking filmed the ghost hunting.
I'll tell you why. I yelled at you.
I understand why, but you can kiss my ass. I was the only one recording, all right?
Nope, I was recording too, and it was all in the correct format.
Okay. All right, then.
There we go.
I see how it is.
How's that? There, now it's not so fucking weird looking. If I hit admit, I'll just rearrange it real quick. And so if you're tuning in on YouTube, you're going to see all kinds of shit. We're using this software program that's more meant for streaming. But we use it to record because, number one, it's free. And number two, it's actually quite powerful. It's called OBS. I really like it. I'm not even using it to its potential. So we're making our Zoom meetings less boring.
Yay.
But as everything, we're so busy that... Did you even look at it yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, we're waiting for our guest. Hopefully he shows up. Otherwise, it's going to be a weird episode. We could just do a short one, too, if we have to.
I mean, it's not like you and I haven't gone solo before.
No, solo.
I mean, just you and I. But, I got to say that probably wasn't our most funny episode.
Sure it was.
I don't know.
It was hilarious. We didn't have our hype man. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's a little bit how it works behind the scenes here, though. This OBS software is great. I like it.
So I know I'm probably going to introduce our guest once he finally signs on, but just do something a little bit longer here for our listeners. Our guest today is Mr. Sten Jody. He is a indigenous hip-hop artist. Gained some popularity recently by playing Pumpkin Lusty, I think is his name, character on Reservation Dogs on FX on Hulu. He plays one of the characters' dads, so that's pretty cool. He also...
And it was an accurate representation.
I wonder how he researched for the deadbeat dad thing. Yeah.
He just remembered.
Oh, sad. But sad but true. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I definitely had a pumpkin in my life. Yeah, I definitely had a pumpkin until my dad showed up. I would say my father was more the pumpkin.
Yeah.
Because I got two fathers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the one that made me, and I got the one that raised me. So.
You got the one that shot the load and the one that carried it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So yeah, our guest was on Reservation Dogs. They ended up filming a music video for him, Greasy Fry Bread.
Yeah.
So if you guys remember seeing that on there, it was pretty funny. And the thing is, I'll admit, I was a little like, is he like really like singing about native stuff?
Yeah.
Because, some indigenous musicians have a tendency to lean into that.
Really?
Yeah. Like my friends in December Wind. Well, my friends and family that are in December Wind. And
you mean with the flute playing, the wind and the water and all that shit?
Everything's about blankets
fucking
and
buffalo.
Thunder and shit like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So I kind of thought he was just like another native, artist that's just like, okay. But they only did that for the show, I believe.
Oh, really?
I checked out some of his other stuff, and
it's just like regular hip hop.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit, okay,
yeah.
All right, here we go.
So you think it's a bummer that the Fry Bread song is actually what got him?
Not at all, not at all, because you gotta. Aren't we kind of cashing in on that a little bit too? You gotta lay into the native thing to get the exposure, really.
Well, otherwise we're just three dudes with a podcast. How fucking unique is that?
Exactly. So we got to pull the race card
Yeah,
to be
so it's what we
interesting.
have. It's what we have.
We sure as hell. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to really just get started and be like, how did you get into hip hop and rap, and what are your influences, and really, what is your message that you're trying to say to your fans here with your music? You know.
I got back into um hip hop and I've always been influenced by music ever since I was a kid. I mean, I grew up in Oklahoma, of course, and I was just kind of raised on that like southern rock country vibe that Oklahoma just gives off, I mean, early 80s into the early 90s, I found rap maybe in like 89, 90. um my uncle and my aunties, my aunties listening to like All for One and like Keith Sweat back in the day, you know what I
Ooh, Key
mean, and stuff like
Sweat,
that.
baby.
And then like right, and then you have like my uncle listening to NWA and Ice T and Ice Cube and like all these other artists, and like Tupac came in around that time for me, when Juice kind of blew up, and I kind of was influenced by that whole vibe, especially like Boys in the Hood, because as indigenous people, as you know, we really didn't have any representation in the mainstream media,
We
other
have
than like John
Thunderheart.
Wayne. Right, right. And in all due respect to all of the actors and all of the ones that paved the way for us to even be able to do what we're doing today,
Charlie
but
Hill.
yeah, you know what I mean? And brothers like him and everybody, man. But like for me, it was just I was influenced by that story of just like four friends, from a bad situation, from a poverty situation. It wasn't about gangs. Like Boys in the Hood wasn't about gangs. Juice wasn't about gangs. And it was like I could relate to those understandings of friendship and like craziness, and like things happen in the struggle, you know what I mean? And like um so I related to those things. So hip hop was definitely what I was looking out on my eyeballs every day in the life I lived, and like that's why it was so relatable to me. Again, we didn't really have that representation as a youngster. So it's like, and all generations before then didn't have representation, correct representation. And only this generation right now gets to have that, finally starting to peek through where we're telling our own stories and stuff. So that is when rap really hit me, man. And I started to um, love tattoos around the same time. Uh, so 13, 14 years old, rapping and tattooing kind of came into my life together. And so that is definitely two different things that the creator put in front of me early on. And, I really didn't listen. I didn't listen until later, right? Because we have to just walk our own roads and make our own mistakes and learn from our own actions, and you know what I mean? And that's the message, right? It's not really a message that I put in my music. I mean, it is, right? But it's like it's just my life. And when I started to put it down on paper, I always thought, I was alone. Nobody really understood me. Nobody really, I mean, I'm misunderstood. And then like, as things are starting to progress, I'm starting to realize like how relatable my story is to a vast amount of indigenous people out there, and not even native people, but everybody, of all backgrounds. And it's opened my eyes, because that is what I always tried to do, was just tell my story and my what I have been through and what I have seen, and what I've seen people go through. and just try to tell that story from a perspective of just me. And so like if you can relate to that, then great. If you can't relate to that, that's okay too, because we all go through different things, and what I went through might not be the same thing you go through. But I have
We
found
all
that,
fuck up somehow.
right, we all mess up and we all trip and fall, and it's the warriors inside of us that are going to get back up and continue to live every day to the fullest, because this is a gift no matter what. And that's kind of what my music is. It's like, no matter what you go through, it's a gift no matter what, whether it's a bad day, because or it's a great day. You can't. I heard some guy on the internet somewhere say, man, some days are just shitty and there's nothing you can do about it. And you should just go home and go to sleep and wake up tomorrow,
I like that
and
one.
do something different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like that
Some
guy.
days are just shitty and some days are just fucked, man, because you can't really do anything about it. And I'm sorry for my language or whatever, but
It's all good, man.
Fuck, man.
that's
Say all the words, man. That's what we
and
do.
that's just how I feel. It's like and that's how I heard when I heard that said, right? I think it might have been a TikTok or something. It was just scrolling through, and it was like, if some days are just fucked, man, and you just got to go to bed and just wake up tomorrow and do something different. You know what I mean?
I like
You
that, man.
just never give up, though. You don't want to give up on life just that day. You know what I mean? Just that day. Go home, lock yourself in the room, grab some like hot Cheetos and watch some fucking Rest Dogs and chill out. You know
Hell
what I
yeah.
mean?
Hey, man, I
And
fuck
then
with hot
tomorrow-
Cheetos, man. I fucks with hot Cheetos. I love that shit. A little too much, I think. Thank you for bringing up reservation dogs. And as much as you can tell us, if you don't mind, just really, how did you get hooked up with Sterling Harjo and Taika Waititi? And tell us a little bit of how you got into the mindset of your character, Pumpkin, stuff like that. If you could tell us your journey on
Yeah,
that.
definitely. It was definitely the creator and the universe and hard work and continuing to like I just said, of not giving up and never stopping, even when you have a bad day, maybe a bad week, maybe a bad freaking year, who knows? But you don't ever give up. And a lot of people think that I did this overnight. Like this was for a lot of people, I'm new. I'm very new to them. They don't know me. And for others, they've been riding with me for like 15 plus years. I've been on this grind, like 20 years, man. I've been pushing, right? I'll be 40 this year.
And I don't mean to
I've
cut
been
you off. I don't mean to cut you off, but I will get stabbed in the foot if I don't give a shout out to my coworker. He wanted me to say hi to you, James Cook, because he's
okay.
actually on one of your skits. You have a skit about answering these voicemails of yours,
Yeah, man.
and he's one of them.
Yeah, that's dope. That's
Yeah,
dope.
he's like one of the first people. Was like, "Hey, Sten Jotty, what's up?" And it's yeah, you made it into like a skit on one of your songs for your album there.
Yeah, man. I always try to involve the people as much as possible. Again, like I said, the ones that's been riding with me for years now and has been there, just like that individual, man, just like the homie, like them are the people that were I was able to build a following organically, right? Like it's been years in the making, like, and I've organically grew my fan base and just continue to be myself. So everything, from the beginning to now is just a growth, right? And so when that happened, we hit the pandemic and it was crazy there, right? So my tattoo shop got shut down. I couldn't work. Um, you know, it felt like the universe was like hitting everybody, right? I'm not complaining because
Right.
everybody was going
Right.
through it, man. But like, it was just like, oh man, what am I gonna do? I spent my whole life like staying out of the street. like half of this part of my life, like trying to stay out of the streets. And then like this happened. And then like that's where my mentality went straight as like survival mode. And, you know, I couldn't do that. Right. So I just had to buckle down and continue to be the family man that I am and try to get that mentality out of my brain. Again, you got to understand, like, this is where that's just who I am. Right. And it's like, what am I going to do? Oh my God, I don't know. And so I'm freaking out, but it happened in a good way because my daughter comes to me and says, Dad, there's this thing called TikTok. And I'm like, oh, what is that? And she's like, oh, there's people on there and they do this and they dance and this is this. You should get it, you know. And I'm like, okay. So then I started thumbing through there, you know, no lies. I started thumbing through it, and I found that there was a lot of stuff that wasn't on there, like a lot of indigenous information. And so I started putting old reels together of old native, like, entertainers and like Russell Means speeches and like, you know, Philip Deere speeches and stuff like this, Buffy St. Marie and stuff like that. Like, I started uploading those things because people needed to hear those. They didn't even realize that people were out there, right? So I started to catch a following, a really big one. And then I started doing these bobblehead videos that really didn't do well on TikTok, but then I downloaded it, put it on Facebook, and for some reason the algorithm picked it up better on Facebook. And so then my stuff started going crazy on Facebook. Long story short, I get an email from, you know, this show, and I'm thumbing through my emails and it says, you know, audition for a TV show or something. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. And I like swipe it to the delete box. and as I'm swiping it, you know how you can read kind of the first sentence of the email, you know, and I seen FX Reservation Dogs as I'm swiping it. I'm like, oh man, what was that? Hold on. So I click back into it and they're like, we want you to audition for this part. We want you to read for this part, Pumpkin Lusty. And I'm like, I just started laughing at the name already.
We all know a pumpkin. We all know a pumpkin.
Yeah. So I didn't know who this guy was at first, right? So I'm like, okay. My first email back to them literally was, are you sure you got the right guy? Like, I'm not an actor. I'm a rapper, you know? And they're like, oh no, we know. We've seen your videos and we really want you to audition. And I'm like, wow. So that came out of nowhere. Like, I didn't put in for it. I didn't ask for it. It just kind of came in the middle of the pandemic, right? Like, holy cow, what is going on? And so when I read the script off the top, like, it was the first scene they sent me. It was me answering the phone. The first scene where I'm like, oh, you know, you talking about me at Red Lobster, you know what I mean? And so, and like, and I was like, all right, so it's just me and my baby mama kind of, you know, having a one-on-one. You know, okay, I could do this. I get it. And then, you know, I was kind of being a smart ass. So that's kind of how, you know, I heard the conversation in my head, you know, like, whatever, you know, like, what do you want? You know? And so it was like, then they sent me the second part where I'm talking to Bear. And then I realized what was going on because you don't really understand the full, like, synopsis of what the deal is. Plus, it's in the middle of the pandemic. Most of the time now that I know, most of the time they will have like read-throughs, you know, in person, and like they'll direct you how they want you to act that say that word, you know. And I don't have any background in acting whatsoever. This was my first time to ever act on camera at all. And so when I finally heard that next scene and I'm having that conversation with my son, man, like, something really clicked there because I found myself reading my life and it was really weird for a second, because yeah, it was kind of, I was like, dude, how do you guys know me? Like, is this my life? And again, this goes back to the point where I'm saying, I felt alone in my story, right? Like, I felt alone in my life where I grew up in Oklahoma. And to be reading this scene where this kid is wanting his dad in his life, and his dad making these excuses why he can't show up, and whether or not he's a rapper or not, that's besides the point. Because that is what I had, the exact same conversation with my father and my mother that Bear had on that. And it goes back to the message that's in my music right there. Like, I didn't realize how many people can relate to my story. And
And in
that's
a
why I
way,
think
that's why your
reservation.
character is important, because there's a lot of indigenous kids out there that have to deal with a pumpkin in their life. Most
Right.
definitely. I had a pumpkin. I mean, even back in the guys like Sterling when he was doing the 1491s with those guys, who also write on the show now, they had that skit, Indian Man's Anonymous. And I remember the
Yeah.
Tito comedy, that guy, he's like, all our dads left. What do you think you're special?
Yeah.
So shout out
Right.
to Tito comedy there, buddy.
That's what's up. Tito's the boy.
Yeah, so you're
Yeah,
from
man.
Oklahoma.
Yeah. I was raised in I was born in Claremore Indian Hospital. And I grew up scattered around until I was about 6. We moved around Oklahoma a little bit, but then at around 6 or 7 years old, we were in Glenpool, and that's where I spent most of my growing up days, on the west side of Glenpool, there in that little small neighborhood, like neglected from the rest of the town.
We got some
That little
friends in
neighborhood on the
Oklahoma.
back.
We do. One guy, he's real tall.
Yeah.
They like to comment on it.
Shout out to Anthony Warrior, Chef Warrior. What's up, brother? My
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's
man.
a town like the show, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like it. So they filming in Okmulgee, which I ran around Okmulgee too, in Tulsa and Glenpool, and like that was like my, Sapulpa. Them were my like areas where I grew up most of my life. So, yeah, Okmulgee's a little more rural than Glenpool. Glenpool's a little bit more, you know, not full city, but not super country, right? Like, Okmulgee's a little more countryer than Glenpool, but very similar kids that are running around getting into a bunch of shit all the time, and definitely your friends are your family, and the people that you surround yourself with, and sometimes family, are the people that you put yourself around. And down there in Oklahoma, man, is definitely where all my connections were, not necessarily blood family. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
chosen
it's like,
family.
right on, man. And so, I still have my family that shows so much love and support, you know what I mean? But when in them growing up years, you know what I mean? In them growing up years, when it was rough out there for a youngster. So shout out to everybody in Oklahoma. I love everybody, my mom's family and my dad's family. I love everybody, and all my homies and all my friends and all my cousins and aunties and uncles. I love everybody, man. And it's definitely there in the show where he shows all that. He writes all that stuff, man. And, I just feel like it's a broader story for Native people, not only from Oklahoma, but for a lot of natives on the res and off the res. It kind of has that vibe. You know what I mean? It kind of has that vibe of urban natives and those reservation natives in there. So, I love the whole situation, and when it came to do it, man, it was exciting, it was fun, it was kind of scary. You know, all of the above, you know what I mean? It's kind of like going on the high dive for the first time. You're like, you know, I wanted to go up here all winter and I was ready, you know, and then you get up there and you're like, hold on, man, this is pretty high. You know, so that's kind of the feeling I got. You know, I was like, all right, I could do this, I could do this. And when you get there, it's like, ooh, I'm really doing this.
Right.
Holy, okay, all right. So they threw me in there, man. You know, they're just like, just be yourself. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not like Pumpkin, so I can't be myself. But
Right. You gotta be
I'll
him.
do as best as I can.
But you
And
know a
so,
pumpkin, so
right, and
act
so
like that guy.
it was like I can be that one guy if you want me to be that guy. And I guess I did such a good job that I had people literally mad at me online.
Hey, that's good acting, right?
They literally thought this was reality TV show, and they're screaming at me. They're, why didn't you go see your son? You need to go see your son. And I'm like, hold on. I'm not really Pumpkin. This is acting, you know, and this is a story. But
That
yeah,
was
man.
like what Danny Glover went through after Color Purple.
Oh,
They're just like throwing rocks at him. He's like, why you gotta be here? He's like,
Right,
I told
yeah.
I'm an actor.
Right.
I wasn't really smacking Whoopi around.
They were rubber rocks. It wasn't real.
That's all. You know, at least two of those kids that are on that show are from Canada.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah,
two
yeah.
actresses that were on that show that are from our sister reservation of Gunnawage. I'm talking about Devry Jacobs and Gunnadeo Horn. But Paulina, she's actually from Canada too, right?
Yeah, the other side. Like
Yeah.
BC, that way.
So yeah, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
Man, it's dope.
You ever been to Akwesasne, where we're from?
No, I haven't ever been north of the border. So you know, again, like I said, growing up in Oklahoma and growing up period in the situations, I made a lot of mistakes when I was a youngster.
Aha.
And that stops me from doing certain things.
So we'd have to find a guy with a boat.
You're right. Like, I'm on canoe journey, fool. Like,
No,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me getting a little too personal, if you don't want to go there, just say that. But you are also involved with the program, am I right?
the program.
Like 12 steps and stuff like that.
Okay, so I'm not in the traditional sense of what that means. I am sober. I stopped it myself.
As are we. Yeah.
Right. And so it was a growth, right? Just a little over 4 years now, or going on 4 years now. Like
Congratulations.
right up, yeah, like around this time a year, almost 4 years ago. So it's definitely you know, growing up down south in the Bible Belt of Oklahoma, I was raised in the church, and I know all of that. And as I grew older, and this is just my personal story and preference in the way I look at life and things, uh, the religious part of life didn't really work out for me. I found myself asking for forgiveness and thinking that, you know, these things were going to stop because I had God in my life or something, or went to church every day, or was doing it for you know, you weren't ever doing it for the right reason in my mind, you know, in my experience. And so when I started to reach back into my culture and in the ways, sweat lodge, and started doing ceremonies, and I started to reach back to the earth and get back with the creator. And in that happening, I started to wanting to get healthy. I started wanting to eat right, not only be sober in my, substance abuses, but sober in the way I ate food and the things that I put in my mind and what I put out into the world. And so when I started to realize those things, I started to know and get so focused that I was able to not really want the alcohol or the pain pills or any of those things. And it's like um, it was definitely a detoxing time in my life where I was just like detoxing from all kinds of bad stuff. And when I come out of those sweats, man, and I found my own ways back to that, and it really opened my mind, man. And so it had nothing to do with the 12 steps per se or none of that, man. It was really focusing on what is important in life
Right.
and what is good for you in your life. And I started to really focus on my family. I started to really focus in on, and that's when everything started to happen for me.
Yeah, all the good things, right?
See, right, like this was pre pandemic. I started maybe a year and a half before the pandemic. I started to save money for I don't know what. I was just like, I don't know what was going on in my head. I was like, I just got to start saving money. And so then I just started saving all my tattoo money, all the extra money that wasn't bill money. I was just putting it away, putting it away, putting it away. And then I was like, man, I have to change something about myself. And I started eating better. And I started doing these things and going to work out. And that started happening. And I didn't even know why. I didn't know why. I mean, I know why, but like, it just turned on one day. It was just something I started to do and listened to the guy that said, you're tired of being tired, right? And I started to listen to that individual and I started to do things. And so it changed. And then I'm getting opportunities that are coming out of nowhere after I started to really focus just on family. And now I'm in a point in my life where I even told myself this years ago. I even told myself this years ago that I would not do a tour the way that people do tours. Because I wanted to be with my family. So if I'm touring, I'm going somewhere. This is what a lot of people don't get is that when I'm going somewhere, the person is booking me to be there. I fly in, I do my thing, I hang out with the people, I hang out with the kids or the youth or whatever we're doing, and then I fly back out. And then I'm with my family for maybe another week or 2 weeks, and then I'll fly back out to another booking and I'll go do that. I'm not going to do this where I'm on the road for 3 months straight and I'm away from my kids and my wife. Yo, man, that stuff gets to people. That stuff really weighs on people. If you aren't in it to win it and have your whole family on the tour bus with you, it will tear you down. And people start using drugs and using alcohol as a way to escape those things. And you start arguing with your wife and your kids. You're missing out on things like baseball and school. And like you start to become a pumpkin,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
It
Like,
comes
Yeah.
from somewhere, right?
and and so I did it this way and now it's really happening. Like I manifested it that way. And so now I take my family at almost every booking. If it's flying out, I take at least one of my kids with me that's in the rider that you pay for 2 plane tickets. And that's just what happened, man. And now it's happening. All these good things are happening and I just sit back and I become like 100% thankful and grateful every single day. And I try to be a better person than I was the day before, learn from all the mistakes that I've made in the past and continue to grow every day. And listen, I know I talk a lot, right? I
All
talked a
good,
lot
man.
tonight, but I listen a lot more than I do talk when it comes to listening to elders or listening to individuals, even if they're mad at me, right? Like sometimes I get some inboxes be hating and I'm like, hey man, I love you. I'm not your enemy. If you have some discrepancies with me, voice them, man. I'm all for constructive criticism. I'm all for what can make me a better person. So if I hurt you in some way, let me know what I can do to help you out, and you may not ever forgive me for the things that I've done or said or did something to you, or maybe you felt like I did something or said something, but at least I can try to be accountable and be responsible for what I've done, right? So that's where I'm at in my life, and I'm going to continue to walk that road that I'm walking right now. And that's pretty much it, man. It's like I'm going to continue to write music. I'm going to continue to work and do as much as possible and show my kids and my wife that I love them and they can be anything they want to. And that's my message, man. That's what I'm hearing.
It's a powerful
That's
message.
an awesome message.
Fuck yeah.
So what's the future got for you? Is there more episodes in store? We can't say. We don't know.
I don't know. I really hope maybe one day I get a phone call or maybe something happens. If not, that's okay too, man. You know what I mean? I do have a couple of things. I'm reading the script for a movie. I can't really say more than that. But I'm hoping that it all really just works out correctly, excuse me. And, if it does, you'll be seeing some more of your boy on the screen. And, if not, man, we're just going to keep pushing with the good energy, man, and keep on doing what we do.
For sure, man. And hopefully you'll be seeing more of us. Hopefully we'll be talking like this in person someday. We don't know. Because we had to go through our own shit with the pandemic too. This is the reason why we have this was the pandemic. Because believe it or not, we're actually stand-up comedians.
Oops, we just lost the feed. You know what, everybody?
My bad, man.
That reminded me when we were kids, we had dial-up, and somebody would pick up the phone. You're trying to download the latest version of Photoshop. You got Napster going.
Calling.
You are literally our first Zoom recording here.
Oh, that's dope, though, man.
Yeah, I made it kind of work.
Yeah, it should. This is something like this is pretty dope, man. Like this is what I kind of did through the pandemic. I mean, that's all we kind of had was this right here. And it's good to have it, man, because, man, we can reach so far, and that's another thing I was saying too. It's like our connection as Native people, we can realize that we are relatable. And I have to give it up. I know a lot of us Natives, we do have an issue with like, technology and all this non-traditional ways, all this craziness. Right. Okay. I get it. I understand if the world falls apart, we're going to have to get super dish out here and start hunting and shit. I get that. Right. Like we're going to have to do that. So, but at the end of the day, man, if it wasn't for like iPhones and internet, right, we wouldn't have the connections that we have right now. And I'm telling you right now, because it was a conquer and divide situation. And so we were put in the most rural, so secluded areas. And now even your grandma's got a damn iPhone and she's TikToking and Instagramming, bro. And it's like, holy, grandma, what are you doing? See, I got my Instagram. She's fucking in it, man.
Yeah, and the res talk is huge.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. And at the end of the day, man, it's like things like Idle No More and Standing Rock and we can just keep No Line 3 and all the things that are going up there in Canada, all these things we wouldn't even know about them.
Exactly. We would just be fighting our own battles, but now we can fight them across. We can fight them together.
Yo, we have that phone, and yes, they do have things to disrupt signals when they figure out that we have what we have. But at the end of the day, we have that connection where we can go ahead and go live, and we can say, "Yo, something's happening. Please help me." Right? Like, oh my God. So like these things that we didn't have, Now they're rare, they're accessible to kids on the res, they're accessible to grandmas and grandpas and aunties and uncles, and they're accessible to us, and we're just being connected beyond our languages, beyond our traditions, beyond our geographical placements and displacements. And whether you're a city native, whether you're an urban native or a country native or traditional native, everybody's got a connection now. And I think that in 2022 we're probably the most connected that we have ever been. And I think it's just going to keep getting, our voices are going to get louder and louder. And I'm just so happy that I'm here to just see it, you know. And shows like Reservation Dogs, shows like Rutherford Falls, shows like Dark Winds, shows like Spirit Rangers just came out, and Molly of Denali, and just all these great representations of who we are today, not who we are 100 years ago, you know, who we are now. And I'm just you know, happy to even be a little bitty piece of that little part, you know. And whether it be my music, whether it be the Greasy Fry Bread song,
It's a
but
good song.
Was that made just for the show?
yeah, that's I mean, again, it is a great song. But I'm
It's catchy as fuck.
right. And for me, so when it is written between three of the writers and me. And so they sent me a bunch of jokes and a bunch of one-liners that kind of rhymed, but I had to correct it because they're not rappers or artists like that. They're comedians. So they were funny liners. So I twisted them and I said them the way I would say them, but I used all their stuff, and then I put my own twist on there. I put my own words in there. And so we definitely did it. In my mindset, you know, he's been gone from the res for a while, right? So he's been in Cali and the reason behind it is that he thought the Greasy Fry Bread song was gonna blow up super big because everybody loved it in Oklahoma. He was gonna go to California. Well, you know, apparently, whether it happened or not, you know, years later, you know, he's still eating a bowl of cereal, you know, in an apartment. You know what I mean? And so, you know, at the end of the day, it's an older song. So in my head, it's like a 2005, 2007 song. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, yo, like Paul Wall, Houston was a big influence to Oklahoma at the time. And, you know, definitely the chopped and screwed part of the song comes in there, you
The
know.
grills.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've always had a grill for a long time. That was definitely not just a part of the show. That was just a part of my life. And so,
Maybe we should get one, Josh.
Yeah.
I want one. I gotta ask you real quick about that Greasy Fry Bread video because now
yeah.
that I know it was shot just for the show, but obviously you were to have some creative input in it. Whose idea was it? And I don't know if a lot of people caught this, but I definitely did because it looked familiar to me, you know, because I got my own addiction story I overcame. But whose idea was it to cut the flour in the lines on the plate?
So okay, so at the end of the day, man, like they had this whole idea of of Pumpkin being in this casino playing blackjack at this table with poker chips that looked like fry bread. And it was really, I was like, nah, I mean, and then they asked me my opinion. Of course they're gonna, you know, they know what they're doing, but they're just gonna ask my opinion. And I was like, well, look, man, you know, I'm from Oklahoma, and you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, we be in the trap, bro. Like we was out there doing shit we wasn't supposed to be doing. And so for me, I was like, yo, it's perfect you put us in the, you know, in the kitchen, you know, messing up auntie's kitchen, trying to make some fry bread for the powwow or whatever, you know, or the stomp dance or something, man. And like, you know, and I decided to use all their ingredients to make a rap video real quick, and they're all mad at me. You know what I mean? and you know, I did have the idea they were going to be like chasing me around the kitchen and stuff. That didn't really pan out the way it was, but it was going to be that was in my head. And then like especially like the part where you have the lowriders and like the switches and stuff like that. That is so Oklahoma, man. Like people don't understand. Like we have big wheels and candy paint, old school Cadillacs and old school rides, and like the those things are like we have a very big West Coast influence there. And so like those things were are very much Oklahoma. If you're from Oklahoma, you know. And it's like a lot of people didn't get it. They're like, oh well, like that's been done before. And I'm like, yeah, but it's Oklahoma. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? And we're all about family. So the outside scene, I was like, look, we need some dope cars. They wanted to do like Lamborghinis and Ferraris or something, and they, you know, make me look like a big casino boss and all this. And I was like, nah, man, just bring it. Just put out a call for Oklahoma lowrider cars or something. Like, just put out a call for all the cars to come out, and anybody and everybody can just come through and whatever. So it was just an open call, and hell of people showed up, man. Like them were just random extras, you know, that wanted to come through, man, and just show love. And like it was amazing, right? Like, and we had fun that day. That whole video was like super fun and really like community oriented. It was just great to be a part of that whole situation. And like everybody was even saying like this isn't how like Hollywood works. Like this isn't how it really goes. And this is like the first set we've ever been in where it's just like a family vibe. Like everybody's kicking it and talking and like, you know, no craziness. And it's like, well, I don't have anything else to judge it from. So I must gonna be spoiled on the next situation because you know, it was very comfortable, laid back. It helped me just be myself, and we had fun. You know, it was dope.
That's all right, man. I like that.
Yeah, buddy.
Rezzed it up. Showed them.
Yeah, man. I mean, and they knew as soon as Sterling and the director heard that, they're like, "Oh yeah, man, let's do that." You know, and they're like, "Yeah, that just sounds great." And I'm like, yeah, you know. And so I don't know who like chopped up the line specifically, right? But I was like,
That's
yo,
a
man,
good
like,
answer, sir.
right,
It's like I didn't do that. That
know?
was like that when I came in.
I didn't do it.
Well, I'm good. Are you good?
I'm good, man.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
For your time, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, real quick. What does that name mean? What does that name mean, real quick?
What's that?
Stinjati.
So Stinjati, it's a play off of my Muskogee language, my people's language. My people's language is Stinjati. Stajati means native or Indian or red man or whatever, right? And so right, so I kind of did a twist on it and created it, you know, in my own way, Stinjati. So I wasn't really disrespecting the name in itself, at the same time making it something that was individually mine, you know, but at the same time representing. So you know, all with respect and love, you know, with the best intentions, and it's worked out. Before that, I used to be known as Sirius, and you know, I went out for that, and that just wasn't really who I was as an artist, man. So I had to switch that up and create that new energy with that new understanding. So that happened back in 2011 or so, and that's when I started to really focus in on a lot of my culture and ways and all that good stuff. That's when I really started to dig out of the hole that used to be the guy.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Could you
Know?
hold your medallion up again, please?
Yeah. That's that was
who made that
beaded
for you?
by a very good friend. Her name is Becky. She did her thing on this, man. It's an original. It's one of our. It's our original Muskogee seals. Our Muskogee seal for my tribe. It's a patch, and she beat it all around it. Yeah, man, it's like
Does she
super
have an
dope.
Instagram page?
And I know she has a TikTok. I'm not sure if she has an Instagram. I know she has a TikTok though. I'll have to get that and a Facebook. I believe she has Facebook too.
Hey man,
Yeah.
natives, we
So
like
yeah,
Facebook. I don't get it, but we do.
We'll have to give her a shout
yeah.
out. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you
Yeah,
so much
and
for joining us, man. And best of luck to you and
yeah,
everything you have coming for you in the future.
I appreciate you guys, man, for sure.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
for
so much
having
for
me
joining
on.
us.
Thank you for well, thank you for blessing me with the platform that you guys have, and you know, to be able to tell my little bitty story here, and I appreciate it, man, and I hope all the blessings come to you guys as well, man.
Thank you so much. We'll definitely have you back. All right, brother.